Kia ora team, Noah Willoff here, host of the Beyond the Surface podcast. Thanks so much for tuning into today's episode. Before you get into this juicy conversation, please make sure you go check out our official sponsor of the podcast, Moana Road. They really have something for everyone. They've got sunglasses, a whole range of awesome products. So check out their website and the link in the description below and support Moana Road because it also supports the podcast and helps us get more of the guests on that you love. Hope you enjoy this episode. Cheers. Louis Baker, welcome to the show.
Hey, brother. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for jumping on, man. And we were just saying earlier, I think the last time we caught up and saw each other very briefly was at T-Bay Cafe, and I had a snapped ankle from a game of rugby. And you politely came over and asked what happened to me as I was in crutches and feeling pretty depressed. So thanks, bro.
No, it was nice to meet you, man. And yeah, who do you play footy for?
I used to play for Paraplym, local team out in Plympton, and I was never like really a rugby player, but I got into it post-COVID. I was like, I'll just give this a crack. Why not?
Nice.
And second season, first game of the season, just fully snapped my ankle in half and had to have surgery. So I was like, dreams of being an All Black are over.
Got to
hang up the boots.
It's
not for me, man.
Boots.
It's not for me.
The towels, hang up the boots.
You ever a rugby player? Or play any sport?
Loved cricket and rugby growing up. Yeah, those were my two jams. Particularly cricket. Went to Wellington College. I was captain of the second 11.
Nice.
So we were kind of our firsts played men's grade at the time, and so we were trying to get our team back up to Prem 1. So we managed to do that by the end of my 7th form year, which was good. So won that comp, and I just love playing cricket, man. Wanted to play for the Black Caps type thing. Love playing rugby as well, but cricket was the one that I went hard at.
Yeah, that's
and
interesting.
then music kind of took over, and it was like didn't train.
Yeah,
my batting game suffered, but that's all right.
What was your? Because I read something online that that was like your sort of first dream as a kid to be a professional cricket player.
Yeah.
Was that your first like aspiration as a young fella?
Yeah, it was, bro. Yeah, just madly into it. The old man was awesome kind of encouragement, and would go down to the nets and he'd do throwdowns at me when I was youngster, and I got my eye on just playing the shots, and learning all the shots, and just getting kind of fluidity and being able to be confident going into games and things. And I don't know, I caught the bug, man. I went right into it. But then music definitely, was the thing I became a bit obsessed by, and then didn't score too many hundreds after that one, but it's all right.
That's awesome, man. And I've always sort of said to, and this was actually a rule from my mother. She was like, you can play any sport you want, just not cricket. I think it's just like how long the games go on Saturday.
Yeah, man. Well, logistically, it's just a long thing,
Lots of patience. But you grew up in Newtown, and your mother was a cleaner / sort of like teacher artist, and your father was a fireman, from what I understand, for a number of years.
Yes, bro.
I wanted to ask you, like, what sort of lessons within leadership have you learned from your parents, bro?
Oh, that's a big question. Good question too. I think the old man, always been the hero, I guess, and going up to Brooklyn Fire Station, and he'd been making feeds for all the boys. Was there for 43 years, so he was very much so an integral part of that kind of community, I reckon. And he's always been a real leader to me in that regard, just kind of quietly in the background making feeds for the boys. He was I don't know how they do it in the fire service, but there's 4 people in a truck, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4 you got the station officer who rides shotgun, and the driver, and then the 2 in the back. But he sort of did a bit of driving, and he was also in the back as well. Just inspired me just in his genuine kind of love and patience, and all the things I think you have to have probably as a parent. Definitely a leader in that regard. And and was always there for me in doing sports and stuff. So I'm very lucky to have had an old man like that, you know, because, you know, yeah, definitely don't take that for granted. And then mum, in her way of teaching kids art, did that in on Station Road in Kandala there. She had her own place called A for Art. And a lot
Shout
of
out.
kids, yeah, a lot of shout out to mum. Yeah, a lot of kids came through there and really appreciated mum's work and attention to their, you know, the way they paint a canvas. Or, I mean, by the time they got from sort of age 10, and sometimes she'd teach them all the way till they were 17 and 18 and leaving school, and, you know, kind of often maybe doing art school or design or so. Yeah, very, very cool what she did there. So leadership in that regard.
Awesome, bro.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. And were they musical at all? Or is like, where did you get your first sort of flavor or introduction to music?
I think, yeah, I mean, the old man was like heavily into the Doors and Stones and Hendrix and Zeppelin and all the 60s, 70s greats, I guess, Little Feat. And, you know, mum was more into kind of Keith Jarrett and Joni Mitchell and Bob Dylan and, you know, Cannibal Adderley and sort of like jazz and the troubadour era, I guess, the sort of songwriters of the 60s telling stories about societal changes and, you know, segregation and war and peace and all of these things. But mum played in the 60s, so she did a bit of singing and playing guitar, particularly down in Dunedin, I believe. And dad probably just more of a party goer, a few beers and a few sing songs,
nice.
you know. That was probably his jam. So yeah,
Awesome, bro. It's amazing, like the impacts that even just having music around the house can have on like a young person. And I've got so many profound memories as like a young fella, like 4 to 5 years old, mum playing the Beatles. And there was this one song by the Beatles, I think it's like Nowhere Land. And I was convinced that it was Noah Land, and that the Beatles have written a song about me. And yeah, it was just like a profound like shift. I got so many of these iconic memories of like, I don't know, based on the true story, playing around the house or Catch a Fire, yeah, you name it. And do you have like a specific track that stands out to you, bro, that represents like a feeling that you've had or a memory of your childhood?
Yeah, good question. I like you actually remember listening to the Beatles when I was 5, and Dad had the album Rubber Soul on, and it was a song called, you know, Baby You Can Drive My Car, Drive My Car. And I used to love the bit in the song which went beep beep and beep beep, yeah. So I just kind of like, I kind of got sort of fixated on this thing. I think as a kid as well, yeah, the maybe, I don't know, onomatopoeic or like sort of things like that can kind of be a bit more interesting than just a song. So that obviously captured my attention somehow. It was that, and it was Dad playing Hendrix, Electric Ladyland, that whole record, and you know, it's quite ingrained in me. But lots of different things, and Michael Jackson as well, like my sister, and having our cassettes and the cassette player, and you know, listening to Off the Wall and Thriller, and you know, these things on cassette. It was cool.
It's awesome.
Hit rewind.
Yeah.
Wait a while. You know, some people kind of. It's funny. Kids probably don't even know what that is.
No.
Somewhere along the line they do, of course, but like you kind of feel a bit older. Like these days, sometimes when you talk about these things, and like, what's a CD or
100%.
But I guess it's all, you know, you know what you're exposed to, and that's part of the story.
Yeah.
So yeah, so the Beatles, you know,
it's cool. Yeah, very similar in that essence, bro.
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
awesome. Also wanted to sort of pinpoint when was the exact moment, because you obviously went to jazz school in Wellington. What was the moment where you were actually considering, hey, maybe I'm not going to be a black cap. Maybe the music route is a bit more sort of up my alley. Do you remember that distinct thought process that you had around deciding to take a more sort of musical creative pathway than the traditional either sporting or desk job? Take us back to that moment.
Yeah. I mean, I was taught like one or two chords on my mum's acoustic Yamaha guitar when I was about 10 or 11 maybe, and found it very hard to finger those chords down on the, you know, the steel strings,
Yeah.
young hands,
Yep.
no calluses on them.
Hurts,
You
eh?
kind of get put off. You're like, oh no, people really seem to make this look easy, and it's like actually it's really hard. You want it to be able to do it straight away. As a kid, you're just like, oh God, I can't do that. I'm not
100%.
going to work at that.
Yeah.
But gradually, I kind of grew this love. Just discovery, new chord. Grace, my sister, would teach me another chord, and and then to the point where I was playing on her guitar and her electric guitar, and it was like, you can't be playing this all the time, mate. Like, I want to play on it, which you can't have that sibling thing. So I remember me and the old man went to cash converters in Jayville, Johnsonville and Wellies, and bought a Squire Stratocaster, and just fell in love with playing the guitar, and would have been about 12 by then. So I think I would get home from Wellington College at 13 and 14 and just play like 4 or 5 hours on the guitar, and just not because it wasn't even that like sort of conscious minded, like I'm gonna do all this practice, and it was like I just had to, more like an impulse, like you have to do this thing. And then from there it gradually just kind of turned into, oh, okay, I'm leaving school now. I think maybe I'll head to jazz school. Had to do foundation because I didn't get in for first year. So I did the 6-month foundation course to get in for first year for the next year, and did another 3 years after that. So yeah, by that point I was in bands and looking to other people for inspiration, and had my guitar heroes and other musical heroes by that point, which I was completely obsessed by. So yeah, probably it was about 12 or 13 buying that guitar at Cash Converters, and from there that's took me different places.
Shout out Cash Converters, eh?
Shout out Cash Converters.
Man, parents' biggest dream. Yeah, that's awesome, dude, and it's really cool just to hear just how infatuated you were with just learning guitar. And I remember I'm very shit at guitar, but I remember my old man teaching me, and just the frustration of watching him do bar chords and then you trying, and it's just like your fingers just aren't strong enough, and you can't even do a D to a G to an E, and it's just like it's so frustrating. But I think it's so good, especially for young people, to stick at it, eh? Like, yes, learn Smoke on the Water. No, you can learn some chords.
Absolutely, stick at it. Be aware that it will take time, but you will get there. Just keep putting your head down. And
how would you describe, bro, your sort of journey and career as a musician? If you were to use like either one word or 3 words, how would you sort of summarize what this sort of experience has meant to you in very few words?
Trying to think of something very insightful to say here. Challenge, privilege, fun. Like challenge in the sense it's had lots of ups and downs along the way. There's a million and one things that we do as artists, especially myself being an independent artist.
Totally.
Have my own record label, which I didn't always have, but it's, you do your own taxes, you make sure your GST's away, you're making content and editing footage, then you've got your producer hat on, you're making tunes, you're writing tunes, you're collaborating with other people around the world. Maybe you're on the road, you're on the tour bus, you're packing in for the gig, you're warming up your voice before the show. After the show, you might be signing records. Quickly get on the bus, get out of there. Like, there's so many sort of things and moving parts to this business which are challenging. But also, second word was privilege. So privilege in the sense that I am privileged. I've been given a chance to be able to make music here in a country which, you know, is we don't have to think about a war-torn country here. We're privileged in the sense that yes, we have societal issues, and there are parts which need to be worked on, and etc. etc. But just to be privileged to be able to and entertain the idea of going, hey, I'm going to be a musician, and try and make a life career out of being an artist. It's like, whew.
The freedom to dream is a privilege in itself, eh?
Yes, yeah. That's another thing of being aware of that privilege, and fun in the sense that, man, it's fun to play music, and that's the shit that I just love doing it, because it's just a beautiful thing to experience and be up on stage and be sharing with people and writing things, and when you write a song, it's a historical document that's going to stick around. Like you're saying, you're making these podcasts for your daughter to some degree, and that's a really beautiful thing. So yeah, if you can, I guess, be aware of those things, and how privileged you are to be able to well, I am, I should say. I'm not speaking on behalf of other people. How privileged I am to be able to make music and be able to have a career in this business, with the challenges, of course. But it's a cool thing.
That's a great perspective, man. And I think for a lot of musicians, people look at Louis Baker on Spotify or on YouTube, these big collabs with Jordan Rakai, your latest EP, Medicine. Go check it out, by the way. Awesome EP, 5 tracks, highly recommend. I think they see like the sort of swimming duck, like sort of metaphor or an analogy, where you see the duck gliding along the pond and it's really smooth, but under the water, their legs are just paddling like a motherfucker.
Yeah.
So, I was keen, especially as an independent artist, bro, because you have to wear so many hats, right? You're running a business, you've got your own brand and your image that you have to sort of maintain and promote on social media. What are some of the ins and outs of the sort of business of being a musician in 2024 that most people who are just consumers of music would have no idea about?
Man, there's so many variables and parts to that, I guess. Like in terms of the business of music, I guess that's why we call it the music business, because it is the business of music, but it is also taking something creative and making it commercial.
Yep.
It's making money out of something creative, commerce. And I think something that people probably wouldn't know would be the ways that you make money from music. So, for example, one might be streaming, and the royalties that come from that. Another might be live, and the way that you might be paid as an artist. Is it a guarantee show? Is it a ticketed show? Is it a headline show? Is it an opening slot? All of these things have different tiers and different kind of things attached to them that are maybe like industry standard things that you would do, and other things that you wouldn't do. So etiquette comes into play there as well. Knowing the business, knowing people, it's still the most important thing to know people
100%.
and to have good connections, I think. And that's how a positive kind of community and place is built, from that culture of taking care of each other. And but I mean, there's so many different parts to it, like sync and license. Your song is on the new Kia ad for the car, and the contract that you have to look at with the term length. How long is it? What territories? Is it New Zealand exclusive? Is it over? Is it worldwide? Rest of world? Is it? Are you the sole creator of the song? I.e., do you have 100%, or is it me and you wrote the song, Noah, so it's 50-50. So, and then there's the part of a song, which is, you have the master side and the publishing side. That's another thing that might be important. Like, so the publishing side is the copyright, So that's the writing,
Mm.
creative sort of side of it. You and I have written that song. We're 50-50 on that side of the song. But then there's the master rights, which is the actual recorded master.
Mm.
And you often hear that, oh, so and so sold their catalog, or someone else has bought up someone else's catalog, and so that's talking about different sides of the same song. And so there's lots of different parts to and things you have to navigate around. Having a good lawyer is important.
Yeah, yeah, I can imagine.
And sometimes they might take 5% of your whole income. Let's say in the United States they do that often, or you just do a case by case basis where you just do the contract and we pay you for your time for that one thing.
Mm.
Yeah, and knowing all of these things, at 21, I didn't know anything. Knew I loved playing the guitar and singing, but I'm glad I've learnt these things along the way, so that you have some kind of. You don't want the wool to be pulled over your eyes. You want to be able to make good decisions that are, sustainability, longevity in the career. You've got to be able to do these things well, and I'm glad I've learnt more about the business side, because you have to survive and stay afloat.
Totally.
Especially as an independent.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, no, that's just what you're saying there. Even just like the splits of songs, depending on, if you co-wrote it with someone else, there's so many layers of running a business. Plus, you've got like merch sales, you've got vinyl records, which I know that you do, and online streaming as well. So there's so many like plates to juggle all at once.
Yeah.
How did you learn through like failure as like a young fella growing up, or did you have some like good sort of mentors which taught you some good lessons along the way?
Kush, my manager's been a massive mentor. She's inspired me to just know the business side more and more.
Shout out Kush.
Yeah, shout out Kush.
Thank you.
And so yeah, I mean a lot of the main stuff I've learned from her nous, business nous, but also the things that you learn along the way, because you make mistakes and you figure it out as you go. You can't know it straight away, and you only know through doing it. So yeah, you got to dive in the deep end sometimes, and make a few mistakes and figure it out.
And pretty cutthroat industry in terms of like record labels and the sort of deals that might get pushed your way.
Yeah, I mean totally. Like you're talking about splits and things. There's what they call a 360 deal, which means that basically you sign with a label, and then they'll take a piece of every part of the pie. So 360. So it might be part of the merch, part of the live, part of the So, and then once you paid your manager and you pay the agent the 10%, and you paid your manager 20% or whatever, and you paid the record label XYZ, whatever it is. Every label's different and every contract is different, so you can't really write all labels off like record labels are bad or they're great, or if the deal is good and it works for the artist, that's all that really matters. But it can be tricky. So I mean I've never been signed. I've had things on the table for different deals and things. I've wanted to retain my own master rights and my own catalog, so that's kind of been the main thing, unless something comes along which is really great and I'm like, nah, got to do this. I haven't really had that. So only in the sense that not for a big record label deal, for example, like a worldwide thing.
What I've always loved about your sound, bro, is you're so authentic to your true expression of music, and you got a real like Louis Baker like sound. I remember I first heard, I think, Birds back in probably like 2015.
Wow. Oh, you heard it back then?
Yeah, bro, like back in the day. And I was like, man, this got such a distinct sound. And like, no hate to some of those big pop stars like Ed Sheeran and that, but I feel like a lot of them have actually done a full 180 on how they first started and the sound and who they, were as a sort of authentic artist. And I feel like part of that might be maybe pressure from record labels being like, you've got to make more radio bangers and radio hits. So just want to ask you, bro, how do you navigate like the commercial, like the pressure of commercializing your music to be more maybe radio sort of pop songs versus staying true to the music that you want to create and put out there?
Good question, man. Yeah, firstly, I acknowledge that there's mad like winds and snow and rain and shit that gets thrown at artists. Like, no wonder people can kind of change tact and go, actually, I want to go this way because, there's a lot of pressure on me right now for whatever reason. Yeah, I feel like, actually, can you repeat the question?
Yeah, it's just
the main part at the end there.
Yeah, just like how do you navigate staying true to your authentic sound and music rather than making like pop hits or things that might do really well on the charts versus what you want to create?
Good question. Yeah, I mean, there's trend music. There's a few parts at play here. Like, I think what I've done is stick true to the thing that I love most, and I just let the intuition kind of guide me on my writing and stuff. There have been times where I've gone, oh, maybe I should go this way, and I did spend, like a year writing and crafting songs over in LA and working with, which was a great experience, but it's the ultimate like A-listing top pop world, which I really enjoyed the experience, but I think gradually I just realized, like, man, I need to make shit that I feel really 100% good about. And I think that's probably what's kept me as an independent as well. That the forces that be, like, once you're part of a machine or something in a label, they're gonna make you want to sit in a lane, which is this lane. It's not that one. It's not that one. It's like right there. And I just want to be able to make stuff I want to make and kind of feel. I think if you built up such a leverage and you're such a big artist, then that label's going to come and say, hey, we just want you to license your record to us so you can make whatever art you want to make and license that with us, rather than the sort of kind of like development approach of like, we'll develop you from age 13 and then from 17 you've released your first record. And so that's another approach. But yeah, I don't know. I think I've always just tried to stick true to what feels good. And yeah, it's a tricky business. But end of the day, if you're an independent, you can make your own decisions. And that's why I wanted to do it. I just want to be able to make art that I want to make. Yeah,
bro, 100%. Because imagine how frustrating that would be. Like, you'd produce an EP and you send it over to your record label and they're like, nah, this ain't it. Like, this will not get bang for buck in our eyes. Then you have to go back and like do something else completely. So there's so much more freedom and autonomy that you have as a independent musician.
Exactly. There's a lot of risks attached, I think, for labels as well when they sign an artist and it's, we've signed you for 100,000 or $1 million or whatever. It's like, that's the money they've put down on this thing to, in time, hopefully make more, because they believe it's going to equal dollar signs, and these are corporate entities, I guess, so.
Yeah.
But then there are more boutique labels as well, which are more focused on just straight up art or whatever, that might not be so worried about dollar signs. I don't know. It's and things are costing more and more in the world, and it's just a tricky time for everything.
100%. And you've got your tour coming up with Fat Freddy's Drop over in Europe, which is epic, bro. Over 22 shows, I think you said. Keen to sort of unpack throughout this opportunity, sort of touring, and from your experience touring it in the past as well. How do you get into the mindset of getting ready to perform in, like, sold out shows, massive crowds, back-to-back gigs? Is anything you're doing now to sort of like prepare yourself for going over to Europe? Because there must be a lot. How do you get into like the right sort of mental space and sort of physical space to go in there and fucking deliver?
Yeah, man, that's a good question.
Doing this podcast, obviously.
Yeah. Well, there's lots of it. There's lots of different parts and variables to that, which is like, you know, the sort of more spiritual kind of wider space of like your mindset and for me that it's a holistic thing of one affects another, isn't it? It's like me going to the gym in the morning, which I've just kind of I took a bit of a break through winter and I got sick, didn't come back and then I just got a bit lazy, I think, and then now I'm like, man, I want to get back in there. And, so that's kind of cool. So yeah, just having that sort of the health side of things and what you're eating and what you're actually putting into your system is a massive thing, especially as a singer. As soon as I'm, you know, out there partying or smoking durries or, you know, it's like you just doesn't really you don't have longevity doing something like that, or at least I don't. I know people who can, and they can just go out there and you know, do whatever, and then somehow they can turn up on the day and sing immaculately well, and you're like, mate, you're a beast.
Touche.
You're a beast.
Built different.
But built different. But yeah. So there's the Wairua, and sort of Modi, like the mental mindset space, and then there's also what you're kind of doing in your practice schedule about, like, you know, for me, I try and do at least half an hour a day of singing, whether it's singing songs or just warming up the voice or something, especially leading into these shows. And there's gig fitness. That's another really important
speak about that
thing. So gig fitness is like, basic bottom line is like, you know, no matter how many shows you've had over your time, it's like if you haven't been playing coming up to something like this tour, for example, if I haven't been actually playing out and doing live shows, I've just been rehearsing at home, I'll get to that first show at the Freddy's tour and I'll be like, whoa, boom. Whereas I've had a show at San Fran and I've got these small hall tour thing, a small hall sessions tour, which is just 4 shows in a row. So I know that's going to build up my fitness, gig fitness. I've got a show Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and that will just be cool. And then I've got rehearsals next week with Freddy's after that. So it's kind of like, yeah, you do build these things to get your gig fitness up and make sure that you're kind of firing. Because if I find if I haven't done that, I'll get to that first gig and it'll be, you know, it's passable. And that old thing of like, no one in the audience knew. Yeah. You know, you were the only one that knew about how bad that song was, or because you're so critical or close to the coalface, if you want to call it that. But yeah. So you definitely know when you haven't quite ironed it out as much as you can. And for me, I got to play guitar and just sing every day and just make sure that that's oiled. You know, like if I haven't got my chops up, then and it's this sort of, can be a spiraling effect too. If you know you haven't done the work, you don't feel very good about it in your own heart of hearts. Like, you feel way more satisfied if you know that you've done X, Y, and Z to do that. And then even if something didn't come off how you wanted it to, at least you know you've done this preparation to do this thing. But if you haven't, it's like, oh, you've only got yourself to kind of pull yourself up there. But
that's super interesting, man. I never really thought of it, and I guess it makes perfect sense. Like, you guys are on stage giving your all, and it's amazing when you go to a show where it's on back-to-back tours and you have that experience listening to a musician or a band, and you just feel so special. You're like, there's no way they've ever performed like this before, ever. And then they've got like 20 other shows like back to back straight after the one that you're at. You're like, how the hell do you keep up with this? So yeah, real interesting hearing from you that it's like fitness. It's like training for a marathon. You've got to get those reps in, or else you won't really perform or deliver to the best of your ability on the day. Makes perfect sense.
Yeah, no, it's definitely more the marathon than the sprint as well. It does feel to me like it's more about consistency and just building in a little bit every day is better than trying to, I don't know, if you've got a tough schedule and you've got lots of things on, it's better to do a little bit every day than try and bash it all out in sort of one day and expect it all to somehow happen in a beautiful way. You've got to kind of like, it's a little ritualistic kind of vibe, you know.
Do you have any specific like rituals when it comes to performing a show?
I often like I don't eat too many carbs on the day of a gig. It sounds a bit silly, but like just that kind of like you're up and then you're down, you're up and down. Just try and have some more kind of wholesome foods,
Yep.
smoothies.
Mm.
Like, don't get me wrong, I'm a cookie monster. Like I can eat all sorts of things and be like, I love food.
Yeah.
Who doesn't?
100%.
But it's kind of like, yeah, anything that's gonna keep you sort of even throughout the day is what I look for, and it might be like chicken and salad and just protein and salad. That's always good, and just lemon, honey, ginger.
Is that good for the voice, like for the vocals?
Medicinal, yeah, man. Shit, yeah. I mean, ginger is just so good. It's like it's something I definitely have a little bit of every day on tour. It's like I even eat the stuff, because it's just so like it's a super food. Anti-inflammatory, anti. It's like it's got a lot going for itself.
All the antis.
Ginger. So ginger.
Back on ginger.
Yeah, back to ginger anyway. But it's like if you can do these little things well in your prep, then it will definitely equal a better result.
Yeah.
I think when you go to actually sing and like I might have a beer or a whiskey or something before I go on stage, but I'm not going to have like 5 or 6 beers or something, and then you just get up there and you're like, excuse me guys, like just gonna
a few burps,
yeah, or whatever, just anything, bro, you can think of, like it all adds up in the end. So
it must be funny because there are quite a few musos or like comedians where they perform, they've got like the sweet spot if it is like a couple of beers or something, but I'm sure that must have been a total trial of like having too many and being like, fuck, I'm hating myself up here, this is terrible. I'm also keen to understand, like, after one of these shows, bro, you just bugging? Like, are you that energy dump and that adrenaline dump must be huge. Like, what are your emotions and like your feelings like, an hour or two post show?
It's tired and wired. Like you're tired, you're a bit exhausted from the day, because say for example on the Freddy's tour, you're on the bus, you get to wherever you need to go, you might get there at, I don't know, 12 or thereabouts, maybe earlier. You've been sleeping on the bunk, you get off, you got sound check at 2, whatever, pack in, and then another sound check, something else, and then feed, disappear off for a while, have a shower, whatever you want to do, clean yourself up, and then you're kind of into gig mode. And from say 7, you're sort of ready and you're on, and then I might, do the opening act, then jump on stage with them, play a few songs at the end of their set. But that bus doesn't leave until 1 a.m, and that's like you've only just really finished work, so you've a bit kind of more wired then.
True.
So you like still got this sort of energy, and you get back on the bus and boys are having a few beers, and it's just you wind down.
Yeah.
But then it's that kind of thing every day, so you kind of you get into this little routine. But you do need to kind of make sure you're getting your nutritional things.
Yeah, it must be super hard to just stay on top of things as you're touring and living in a bus. What about the Fat Freddy's boys? Do they send it pretty hard post show, post gig?
No, I think they're pretty. I mean, they've been doing this thing 20 plus years, so they certainly know how to do it, and they're very well-oiled machines. So there'll be nights where you probably have a few more drinks, but most of the time it's like it's pretty chill. But can't remember terrible memory what you actually asked.
Oh, just if they send it pretty hard post show, but yeah, it sounds like they're absolute professionals. But you must have so much fun like doing that sort of stuff, eh? It must just be awesome. Like, what a dream to do that as you're living.
Yeah, I mean, it is a dream. It really is living the dream, man. And then being on a tour with them, massive. I grew up listening to these guys, and they're heroes of mine. So yeah, it's special, bro.
That's surreal, bro. Has there been any other moments throughout your career? Obviously, open for Alan Stone. Has there been any other like musicians where you've been in spaces, either performing alongside them or your music's taken them to like their sort of social circles, and that's just been like a sort of pinch me moment? Is there any sort of standout interactions that you've had?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's the world kind of music community is it's like it's almost smaller than you would think,
Mm.
and it's like you play these gigs and then oh, they're right there in the flesh, and you meet whoever it is, and it's quite a buzzy experience. But um, yeah, I think there's been a few moments like that, like I went to the Red Bull Music Academy in 2013 in New York.
Mm.
And on the first day, you play all your songs. Like everybody plays a song of their own.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's however many people that have been chosen around the world
It's
to
like
come
60
and
or something.
attend to this. Yes,
Mm.
exactly. This musical academy where people come in and talk, and there's Just Blaze and Q-Tip and
Oh, yeah.
Blondie, Brian Eno, all of Questlove,
Mm.
massive musical minds and people of our current era. And yeah, so anyway, played a song, and one day Just Blaze was there, and he said, "Oh, I want to hear some more of your stuff." And I was buzzed out that I even get to meet this fella. And then he invited me up to just do a session at one place in Harlem one night, and there was all the Slaughterhouse guys there. Royster 5'9" was
Yeah.
there. Joe Budden,
Mm.
and got to meet him, and got there's bloody gold platinum plaques on the wall. Nelly Furtado and Jay-Z and
Crazy.
Eminem and stuff, and just hanging out and being in a kind of environment.
Mm.
You will learn things like that. So that was really cool. Got to meet Q-Tip and Questlove and
Unreal, bro. That's insane.
these amazing artists. And yeah, just I've got lots of stories, little stories like that from over the years, meeting certain people.
Mm.
And then you don't want to kind of be like gassing yourself up, like, hey, I met all these
Yeah.
people. It's like I don't really
Yeah.
talk about that too much, but
Yeah.
you asked me, so.
Nah,
But
that's
it's
cool,
cool.
man. That's awesome. That's really cool. You didn't get invited to like a P Diddy party after that, did you?
No, that wasn't not for me.
True, that's
Not
good.
for
I'm
me.
glad you avoided that one. Great response.
Yeah.
Bro, when it comes to songwriting, I had I've had Casual Healing on the podcast. I've had Reese Rich, a couple of my mates, Will McLean, who's awesome Wellington musician,
Yeah,
and
Will's a nice guy, man.
yeah, we went to primary school together. Shout out Will.
Sure, Will.
It's the most solid dude ever. And yeah, just talking to them about like their songwriting process, it's also different. I remember like Reese Rich, he said he takes inspiration even from like architecture. He'll be around the house and he'll see like a nice design sofa or like table, and
Yeah.
that will encourage like lines and thoughts inside of his head. So
Mm.
yeah, can you just speak us through what is your sort of songwriting process and what do you take inspiration from?
Yeah, good question, man. It's definitely different on every day, and it's different for every person. But you're constantly sort of following your own sort of intuitive compass, I guess. And for me, it could be because I play guitar and sing. Sometimes I play keys, bass, program drums, whatever, in a session with other drum players who are recording on something. You can be inspired in so many different ways. But for me, it's kind of like you say, it doesn't necessarily have to come through music itself. For me, it can be film, watching something which is moving. It might be one line in the song in the film that just connects with you, and you can be away doing something on a guitar, like trying to figure out something that you heard in your head. Often for me, it's that. It's like you've got this thing in your head, and you're trying to get it out to something tangible here, but if it's rather intangible while it's in there, you kind of like, oh, yeah, and da, da, da.
Mm.
And you're sort of trying to, you're hunting around for this sound, and then you're like, that chord, actually, that's it. It can be like that, or it could be just driving in the car, voice memo. It could be at a jam with your friends and your band, Could be, yeah. It happens in the weirdest of times.
Mm.
Like, you could be in the shower, like,
Yeah.
you're like,
Hold
oh,
on.
sure. This is some stupid shit like that sometimes. So
Do you hear the melody first, or do you hear the lyrics first?
either doesn't, it's never really one way for me.
Mm.
It's always different. But whatever it is, you're, like I say, you're hunting around for that sound, whether it's lyrics, whether it's melody, whether it's a chord progression.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, it's cool. It's almost like a spiritual sort of experience for lots of people, it seems like. Yeah,
It
and
is.
just the inspiration you can take from different objects or experiences or sounds or smells. It's amazing how you can like just translate whatever is perplexing inside of your head into a thing, and that thing is a sound. You know what I mean? It's pretty incredible when you really think about it.
It's unfathomable stuff, isn't it?
100%.
It's like, how do we do these things?
Yeah, like if music
creatives.
didn't exist, imagine trying to explain music to someone. Or the
Yeah, well,
process,
that's it,
like,
man. You got to
it's
hear
magic.
it. You got to hear it. You got to feel it,
Mm.
don't you? Like, it's like trying to describe a taste to someone.
Mm.
Hey, man, here's a seafood laksa.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's sort of got this beautiful umami, and it's got an acidity about it, and there's lemongrass, and it's just got a lovely sort of, it's just like, just eat it.
You're
buddy.
so convinced.
Just eat it.
I feel
mate.
like you could actually describe a taste to someone that can't taste. That's impressive.
Yeah. Cheer, bro.
That's mean. Wanted to also just touch on just doing a bit of research for this episode, your song Brighter Day. And it was dedicated to your late grandfather, who was a commanding officer in the 28th Māori Battalion. And I believe there was like a really sort of profound, powerful sort of letter. And he had quite a sort of tough time through the war, being shot, being wounded. So yeah, can you speak through that story, bro, in a bit more detail about your grandfather, what he experienced, and then how that came to your track, Brighter Day?
Sure. Mihi to you too, bro. You're very well done your homework, and you obviously do that on all the people that you you interview. So well done.
Cheers. Preparation, like what we said.
Appreciate that, bro.
No.
That letter is one. I can't remember the actual year that my koro Frederick Baker wrote the letter, but he wrote it to his cousin Albert. Albert had fought in the First World War, and this letter came about. My dad gave it to me to read, and so after reading this letter, in which Fred describes the hellish natures of war and the harrowing scenes, and also some of the victories as well for the Māori battalion. He fought in Crete, Alamein, North Africa, and Greece. Those were the three main campaigns he was sort of at. But yeah, he was shot through the mouth from a revolver at close range, as far as I know.
Shit.
And had to learn how to speak again, like had a full facial reconstruction. And I never met my koro, and that's kind of like the thing for me is it's like that he's this amazing man who has inspired me very much so, and I never met him, but just what he's left behind is a beautiful thing. And even my dad didn't really get to meet him either, because he passed away at 49 from a heart attack, and my dad was only 10. But through the letter, he describes lots of things, but he came back from World War II, and was a public services commissioner. But he was basically in charge of making sure that he really fought for Māori, and getting them into jobs and housing and stuff, and as Apirana Ngata said, you know, it's the price of citizenship. Māori went away in World War One and wanted to fight for the crown to kind of prove, as I know it, I'm not a scholar, you know, but it's like Māori weren't really treated equally after that, and likewise after World War Two. So, you know, there's many things that didn't really work out as planned, but I think Fred really advocated for Māori and tried to, you know, with the rehabilitation thing that he was headed to do as a public services commissioner, he did really well. So I a lot of respect for him in that regard. Big mihi to Fred for that. And yeah, massive, like quite a inspiring letter for me, because it then made me think, wow, these are all these privileges that I have as a person. I can go and make a song about this. At least I can write something, and you know, that can hopefully be inspiring for someone, I don't know, down the line. But yeah, stay true to the craft, and hopefully that that song will do something good for someone. You know,
it's awesome, bro.
Yeah, thanks, bro.
Yeah, it's an incredible story, and I'm sure he'll be super proud just within the legacy that he's left, even though you'd never had the opportunity to meet with him, that it has, you know, created something through a beautiful song and like a story now that you can tell across like generations in the public. So that's pretty special, man.
Sure.
Awesome. Yeah, and talk to us about your latest EP as well, Medicine, bro. 5 tracks on there. What was sort of inspiration behind the EP? And yeah, how was that process?
Cool, man. Yeah, Medicine was a record that came about through writing lots of songs, being and living in Titahi Bay. I think the Bay really informed the kind of wairua of the music. I kind of have this daily ritual. Me and my partner go walk down to the beach and grab a coffee, walk the beach, come back through the bush, sometimes sit on a little chair there, which sort of has this beautiful view out to the Moana and out to Mana Island, and do a little meditation there sometimes. Not every day, but when we do, we really enjoy it. And then take the bush and back up the hill and walk home. That's often the start, and that kind of is a good way to clear your head, to get centered a bit more. There's lots of things which are happening in life, and sometimes you just feel like you're racing, trying to chase the thing over there.
Yeah.
But it's like, hey, no, be present. You know, there's sort of like something in your head that's saying, be present. You know, take a moment for now. You know, if you're not happy now, when are you going to be happy? Like, somehow we got to find it. You know, and it's not always an easy thing. I'm not saying that, but yeah, it's so it's like that sort of ritual, and then go back up to the house and start making and creating some stuff. And I wrote a few songs for this record, and these were the sort of 6 that felt good together. And yeah, I think after kind of like looking for this feeling of, hey, I can produce my own stuff, you know, that came gradually for me to build up the confidence to do that. And this is my first record which I've solely produced myself. So
true.
It's kind of been a real journey, and it's been like a goal to have a record which I can be proud of and say, hey, I did that. To myself, not to anybody else. It's more of a personal journey, you know. And
sorry, did you say it's 6 tracks? I think I might have got that wrong.
Sorry, it's 5 on the digital and 6 on the vinyl.
Ah, nice. Okay, there we go.
But yeah, I think Medicine. Sorry, I'll just finish.
Yeah, right.
Medicine is we chose to call it that because I wrote a song called Medicine and realized there was a theme sort of throughout the record. And so in a way the concept album came a bit later on. You know, like we figured out that it actually had this theme, rather than saying it was a concept record right from the top and being like, I'm going to write about this. It sort of happened naturally, and that was quite a cool thing. So yeah, music, medicine, therapy. That's what it's been about. Yeah.
Awesome, brother. No, it's really good, and it's just yeah, I've been jamming it all this past week as well. So make sure you go check it out, stream it wherever you're listening or watching this episode. We'll chuck a link in the description as well. Would you have like an album coming up as well? And I'd love to understand what's the trade-off around releasing EPs versus an album, and is there like a regular cadence an artist should be producing an album, or is it very sort of case by case?
I don't know. I'm not really sure. I think that comes down to the artist and what they choose to do.
Yeah.
But for me, it's an EP. I actually kind of thought, oh, I'll do an album, and then things happen, and what you think's going to happen about your timeline and when you're going to actually release something, that can change quite a lot, because there are a lot of parts at play. Things can be held up. Maybe it's vinyl, maybe it's the mastering, or maybe it's the mix. It could be so many parts which can delay when things come out.
Yeah, the process.
So yeah, I think I'm probably going to release something again next year. I've already started working towards a new record for that, but in terms of when you should and shouldn't release stuff, just when it's right, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah,
don't want to pump it out if it's not ready.
It's got to feel good.
It must be like quite challenging at times as well as an independent artist, bro. Like doing your own goal setting. Like you have to be very disciplined. And I imagine you are with how frequently you release EPs and new singles, and albums. So yeah, like how does goal setting work in the context of being an independent artist, bro?
It's a good question. I guess SMART goals are always helpful.
Nice.
Like in the terms of being specific and measurable, attainable. What's
realistic?
Realistic, and then time based. So I guess like these little things you learn along the way, which are part of the business, do really help out how your whole release will be put together, because there's so many working parts to it, And in my team, we've got myself and my manager, and that's our record label, But I've also got, the front of house engineer and the band, and lots of contractors and people that we work with, a designer, sometimes people who are doing PR. It's a lot of, navigating. But I think... sorry, I've lost my train of thought, man. What was the
just like I guess just the sort of discipline around
goal
setting.
Sorry, I'm back on track, man. Fucking rambling.
No, bro, you're good.
So goal setting, I think for me, I've had to learn to be really clear about these things, because I can be either lazy, I can be way too chill, and kind of like, it's a cool part of the character. I'm kind of chill guy, but I also need to kind of like kick my own ass sometimes and be like, bro, come on. So having goals and making them quite sort of measurable and clear is really important. I think most years I kind of like write down a bunch of goals, but then there's just the day, like at the start of the year, I mean, but then there's the day-to-day thing, and I've got my systems in place. Like I've got my place where I sort of have notes and write down all of the day-to-day things, and then there's like the monthly things. So it could be anything from, get this content piece up real, 9x16, 15 seconds, whatever, so exactly what it is. And we'll be talking with our social media person about how we do that. And then it's like, oh, I've got to finish this record and this song for a movie, and get that demo back so
Mm.
that they can send it to the producer and the director's got to hear it, and like
Yeah.
it could be, but you've got to be dead clear about what these things are.
Mm. Mm.
Otherwise, it can be quite tricky to remember. I can't remember everything. Who
100%.
can, man?
No,
Like,
exactly.
you got to write this shit down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it's really interesting, eh? Because I mean, like in the context of a normal office 9 to 5, or if you're a tradie, it's like you've got your specific project task related deadlines that are set out to you by someone else most of the time.
mm,
But being an independent artist, it's like you're got to be the one that has the control and autonomy around when you release new stuff, and because you could maybe not release a single for 4 to 5 years if you don't want to. Like there's no one saying, "Hey, Louis,
exactly.
you've got to publish." Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a perfect way to put it. Like, end of the day, it stops with me, and I choose to do. It's the pros and cons, I guess. Like I don't have a salary and go to work Monday to Friday, and I know that pay packet's going to come in at the end of the week. It's like all of my stuff's it's like,
Yeah.
it's so kind of mysterious, and when it comes, and when it doesn't, it doesn't.
Mysterious.
So,
Yeah.
mysterious. I mean, yeah, but end of the day, it's like I'm happy to be able to make my own decisions, and something needs to be done, we do it.
It's awesome, bro. We'll move over to some quick fire questions. We've got a few questions from the audience, and then we'll do quick fire questions, finish on a quote. But before we wrap up, bro, where can people keep in touch with you and your mahi?
Louis Baker Music on Instagram and Facebook and Spotify, Apple Music. Yeah, I think I'm on TikTok now. So
Oh, you're a TikToker. Nice. I have to give you a follow. Look forward to seeing some like TikTok dancers coming out or something. Those little trendy little influencers.
Yeah, he thinks he's on TikTok. Am I? Yeah. No, I am on TikTok.
Shit, it's Facebook.
Yeah, it's Facebook.
Sweet. This one's actually from Will McLean. Shout out. He said, who's your favorite up and coming artist?
Up and coming artist. Man. Oh, Will's pretty good.
Shout out, Will.
Yeah, I like what Will's doing. In terms of like Kiwis, yeah, he's been doing some cool stuff. I don't really know, bro, to be honest. Like, trying to think of up and coming artists. Oh, I guess Benny Salvador's my man. Like, he's a crazy awesome DJ, and he's kind of been around for a little bit now, but he's a really great DJ.
Man.
Yeah.
Man. This one's from Johnny Hendrikus. What's it like working with Fat Freddy's, and what inside music intel can you tell us about them?
Oh, it's amazing. It's such a dream working with Freddy's. Like I said, I'm a big fan, big follower of their works ever since. We used to slam their Based on a True Story album, before school every day. But little things that they do, I don't know, man. It's not really too many big things I can give away. I don't know. It's just kind of it's just a beautiful thing to be on stage working with them, and like, seeing Moo do all this stuff, and mixing it live. He's got his console there. He's got his MPCs. And the thing that I think from Freddy's I get most is that they're just super supportive. Like,
yes, man.
They've got my back,
man,
and it's pretty mean. It's pretty cool vibe to have that.
It's sick, bro. Yeah, can't wait to hear how the tour goes. I've also got a couple of questions from my daughter Kyla. Her first one: do you ever see yourself playing a big headline concert in a stadium?
Yeah, maybe in my head. I don't know if I've done too many of those. Probably a couple of Freddy's, but nah. Yeah. The answer is yes. I do in my head.
Man, nice. Yeah, these are from my little 9-year-old. It's really cool. Like every guest, she's comes
beautiful.
up very specific questions to everyone. It's not just the same thing.
That's cool.
This next one is also from Kyla, and I think we kind of covered it around cricket. But what was your dream job as a kid?
Yeah, probably cricket.
Nice.
Yeah,
Mean, bro.
that was it.
Wicked. And we'll have some quick fire questions, but before we wrap up, as a part of our sponsorship with Moana Road, shout out, go check them out at moanaroad.co.nz. We do gift a pair of Moana Road sunnies. These are designed by Midiana Gray Smith. So they're all yours, bro.
Too much.
Just a massive thank you for your time jumping on.
Kia ora, bro.
Yeah, appreciate your
Too
time.
much,
And
Kizzy.
awesome we could do this before you head over to Europe.
Look at that.
Slick.
One for the tour.
Yeah, bro.
Oosh.
Bit of Kiwiano for you.
I actually know Miriama as well. She's lovely.
Oh, man.
She's a
Sick.
great artist.
Yeah, bro. Very talented, eh?
Bro, that's so sick.
Awesome.
Bam.
Cool. What brings you true happiness?
True happiness. Wow. I guess it depends what your definition of true happiness is. For me, probably being content with what you have would be true happiness. And contentment, I think, comes from feelings of being, feeling grateful. And I think being grateful isn't something that always just appears out of nowhere. I think it's maybe more of a practice than anything. I find if I practice gratefulness, I definitely feel more grateful throughout the day. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the consistency of doing that, if you do a little bit every day, it's sort of like you're training your mind to look at the glass half full rather than the other way around. And I think you can kind of perpetuate it either way. It's up to you, but being content with what you have is probably true happiness for me.
That's nice, bro. I really like that. What is the meaning of life?
To enjoy what you do and to take care of people around you, take care of yourself. She's a big old question, mate. I don't know. I don't have all the answers, but I'm definitely I would say just enjoy what you do. Find something to find a way to be positive in what you do.
Yeah, I'd say these are quick fire questions. I ask very profound, deep questions.
Quick fire ones like, do you prefer hangi or raw fish?
What's your favorite song?
Meaning of life.
Very deep, eh? True happiness.
Wow.
Who are you as a person?
They're great questions to ask, though. I mean,
advice you wish you knew about when you were younger.
I can't think, to be honest, bro. Probably just no. I don't actually have anything for that.
No advice for the young
no
man.
advice given.
Obviously, you were fine back then. What does legacy mean to you?
Legacy, to create maybe memories and moments that last, that are special. I think maybe for what I do, making music and making records is probably that legacy. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Family as well.
If you could change one thing in New Zealand, what would this be?
Man, massive questions. Well, I don't want to get too political, but yeah.
Bro.
I think equity, like just making sure that everyone's treated with respect and with dignity. Yeah.
And finally, what do you believe is the main thing that is holding back young people in New Zealand?
Holding back young people. So you've got an insight into how my brain works now, bro. It's like I have to really think about something, and it's ticking slowly.
You'll probably be driving home. You'll be like, "Oh, that was it.
that was it.
That was the one."
Man, I think young people today. It's just to be honest, bro. I'm not sure about that. I don't really have an answer. I just think that we have a different set of circumstances and challenges in each generation.
Mm.
And I can't say I really understand the younger generation at the moment.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm not really, I don't have the informed kind of
Yeah.
way to come at that question, you know, like, but I think, yeah, it's definitely about like, I don't know, taking care of each other.
100%.
You know.
Yeah, we've had lots of varied responses from that, including I think my mate Corin, his response was just vapes.
Oh, vapes.
Vapes.
Great response.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's no good, man.
100%.
No.
Awesome. Cheers, bro. Hey, really appreciate your time jumping on the podcast. It's been a pleasure having a chat to you, getting to know you a bit more, and all the best for the tour with Fat Freddy's coming up. We'll finish on a quote. Actually, don't know who said this, so credit to whoever did. When people remember you, they will almost never remember the things you said. Rarely will they remember the things you did, but they will always remember how you made them feel. Cheers, bro.
That's a beauty one, bro.
Thanks, my
Nice
man.
one, cuzzy.
Shot, bro.
Cheers.